It's true, nobody else is going to give you information like this. This is detailed, specific stats in Berry Creek Country Club. The housing market does perform different in Berry Creek, and we're going to take a look at how it does. Yes, Berry Creek does perform differently than other neighborhoods in Georgetown and than the overall market. You can't look at stats from the overall market and apply them to Berry Creek. It just doesn't work. It really never has. Fast markets, slow markets, doesn't matter. Berry Creek has always been a little bit different. Partly because it is unique. It's actually the only neighborhood of its kind in Georgetown, and that's one of the reasons I really enjoy working Berry Creek, is because of its uniqueness. So let's take a look at what we're seeing. I've got two things I'm going to show you. Some stats from June specifically compared to June a year ago, and some stats from the first 6 months of the year. And here's the reason I'm going back and forth. If you look at this first slide, only 4 sales in June. That's not really enough data to get any great stats from. But we're going to use it anyway in some areas just to show you the impact that June had. So in June we saw 4 closings compared to 13 a year ago. That's pretty dramatic. But if you look at the entire year, 6 months into 22 compared to 6 months into 21, 55 closings in 21, 25 closings in 22. Now, a big part of that is lack of inventory. Not enough homes have been going on the market in Berry Creek. You're going to see in a minute that that has changed. The average home price in Berry Creek through the first 6 months has increased to $621,000 and some change. That's pretty impressive. The average increase was about 11.65% from a year ago. Now that's actually a little lower than what we've been seeing, but it's still obviously a very strong statistic. I expect that will continue to decrease a little over the next few months, but we're going to keep a close watch on it. Still only takes about 10 days to sell a home in Berry Creek. I think we're going to see that increase as well. The average list to sale, that is what a buyer will pay compared to the asking price. Well, we've been seeing 105%, 5% above asking. That's a pretty substantial amount of money in your pocket when you think about the average price in Berry Creek. I mean, that's a pretty big chunk of change. In June, however, 101.4%. So one of the things we see in a shifting market is buyers paying less than they had been compared to the asking price. So we are certainly in a shifting market, as we can see from some of these stats. The hotness ratio is a little harder to explain, but I'm going to try. The hotness ratio says simply this: what is the ratio of pending homes, homes currently under contract, compared to active homes, homes for sale? The reason for that is really the most current indicator of what a neighborhood's doing. In Berry Creek, as you can see, there are 3 times as many homes on the market as there are homes under contract, which means choices have increased, buyers' leverage has gotten a little better than it had been where sellers could pretty much name everything. Well, with a 33% hotness ratio, that means buyers are going to be a little more in the driver's seat than they have been in the past. We have been seeing a hotness ratio well above 100% for quite some time in Berry Creek. Inventory is now at about a 2.81 month supply. Why? Why is all of a sudden it at nearly 3 months when it had been a few weeks all this time? So many new listings going on the market. 13 in June alone. So you can see that if 13 went on the market in June, 40 went on the market in the first 5 months. So June was a nice little jump, but we're seeing quite a few homes go on the market in very recent past, which has pushed that inventory up. So there are more homes available for sale, more choices, and that puts a little bit of pressure on the prices for buyers to pay a little less than they had been. I hope that's making sense. Here's something else that kind of shows us that we're in a shifting market. Every single home that closed in June of 21 closed over asking price. In June of 22, half of them. We've been seeing everything, not everything, but a lot of homes sell in the first week with multiple offers over asking. Well, in June of 21, they all sold in the first week in Berry Creek. In June of 22, half of them. So we're seeing a shifting market in several aspects. I think the proof is positive. The evidence is there. We are in a shifting market, but we're not falling off a cliff. even though we saw some pretty dramatic changes, we're still in an extraordinarily great market. If you just looked at this month compared to nothing else, you would look at it and think, wow, what a great market we're in. But when you compare it to the previous 18 months, it's really hard to stay on par with that. That had to change sometime, and apparently this is when it's changing. We know the reasons, of course. Increasing interest rates had a big impact, as well as the fact that a lot of people bought homes and the demand is settled down some. So if you live in Berry Creek, your prospects are still good. Don't think otherwise. If you'd like to see a home that we have currently on the market, it may not be by the time you watch this video, but it is now, so I'm going to go ahead and point it out. Watch the video right there. Hope you enjoy it. Hope to see you on other videos.